We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. We can all start with a moment of silence, please. The last hand for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just remind everyone to have your cell phones on silent or turned off, please. City Clerk Mango, you'll make a roll call for us, please.
Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Reed. Here. Jackson.
Here.
Lawler. Lemieux. Williamson.
Here.
And Mayor Snyder.
Here. Do I have a motion to approve of the agenda?
So moved. Support.
Any questions or comments? City Clerk Mango?
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Reed. Yes. Jackson.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. So we'll start off this evening with a presentation on workforce development.
Thank you. Joanne was going to share two. I see her there on the screen. I'm Sam Doherty from Workforce Development Institute, representing Access for All.
Which is this what it is, access for all?
Yes, Access for All is the actual. Now, since you
Sam. Sam?
Thank you. So everybody has a flyer here, and I'm gonna let Joanne speak here in just a second, but on that flyer, I just want you to kind of ignore that it says November 2021. This is a flyer, a sample that we use for the Kalamazoo area. We have this going on in Jackson, which Albion residents are eligible for. And this is a pre-apprenticeship program that we have worked on over years with construction trades in order to develop a pathway for people to get into full apprenticeships within the construction trades. I would like to introduce Joanne Bailey. If she.
Hello, everyone. Sam, if I could have access to share the screen, I will pull up the presentation.
I don't know who has control.
I don't have access.
There you go.
Okay.
You should have it now.
Okay, thank you.
And video. Kelly, can you stop the video?
Yes.
They've already seen that video.
Oh, they have? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is the one that you sent me. Okay, so then what I would like to do, I'll bring up the other one. And I will have to come back and stop sharing for a minute and then go back. Right. And so,
But she's gonna go through this pretty quick, just through a few slides for time.
yeah, I'm just going to go through a few. And Sam had already mentioned about the program. And this is just a short overview of the program. It's been in existence for about 7 to 8 years. And basically it started in Detroit as an opportunity to expand the pipeline going into the construction industry because of the retirement that would happen in the next 5 to 10 years. And the population targeted is minorities, female veterans, and youth between the ages of 18 and 24. The thing that's unique about this program is that it aligns with requirements for Department of Labor registered apprenticeship programs. And what we normally do, this is a curriculum and go through it real quick. A lot of this is based upon the North American Building Trades Union, which is a national certification that students will get. They'll also get the OSHA 30, which is the gold standard in the industry. We do diversity awareness, essential employment skills, and a very high concentration of math in the program, in the curriculum itself. And we take the students through the different pieces of the trade, why it's important. And we also focus on what is an apprentice, because that's how they will actually enter the apprenticeship once they finish our program. We talk about, I want to go to this part here because this is really an important piece. The college is not for everyone, and we know that. And so we try to let people know that by going through this program, there's a pathway through what we call the other four-year degree, and that is your apprenticeship program. We also show them the savings because as an apprentice, you're working while you're learning. And so a four-year degree may cost you, what, $185,000 when it's done. But as an apprentice, you actually earn 200 and some $1,000. So we tell them what the difference is so they can balance that and see that difference. And then a list of the different trades that we're involved in. There's about 20 different skilled trades that we're involved in going through this program. And basically, that's it. I know we didn't have a lot of time, but what I'd like to do, if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that we have. We will be starting another class in Jackson, starting the end of January. So we're looking at bringing in also residents of Albion to participate as part of that class.
I just want to say real quick why this is important is because this is an opportunity for residents here in Albion to join up with the class. And we're working on transportation and things at Jackson in order to actually have an opportunity to get into a full apprenticeship within labor in the construction trades. And it's really unmatched on the success and everything that we've done here. And so this is just exciting to be able to share it with the community here too. So please ask questions.
Can you speak to the actual time that the class time that the pre-apprenticeship takes, and then the paid portion as well, the assistance, the financial assistance?
Okay. So Joanne, you want me to answer that? You want to go ahead?
Sure. No, you go ahead, Sam.
Well, this is a 9-week training program. This is intensive math in this program. And through that time, there is a stipend. Depending on funding, typically it isn't a huge stipend, but it's something to help, around $200 to help them get through the class. We also give them boots, we give them safety equipment, we provide technology for them to be able to log in because this is provided virtually. It's a hybrid, virtually and in person, one day on Saturdays so far this week, the way things are going. But we like to have that in-person time on Saturdays. This cohort will be run during the day. Does that answer your question, Donna?
Yes, thank you.
So this is a 9-week program. The majority is done virtually and then they do in person on a Saturday?
Yes.
Okay. And so where do they go on that Saturday? Is there like a specific location that you have in Jackson?
I'm gonna have Joanne answer that.
Yeah, the location in Jackson is the Department of Water in Jackson. And we have I'm sorry?
The Department of Water?
Yes.
We have
And we have a room there that we will do activity. What we try to do on Saturdays is involve more of the certifications, like the OSHA 30 certification. That's 4 weeks, 4 Saturdays that has to happen. And also we try to do traffic controller certification. So different certifications happen on Saturday. Saturday is an important component of the program because it allows the participants to interact with each other. And so we find that to be an extremely important component. When people are finished with the program, it's almost like we tell them, welcome to the family, because it is the type of family situation where they learn to depend on each other, they learn to network with each other. And so it provides an opportunity for them to expand beyond that and to also look at the opportunities in the trade that comes along with all of that.
So for the virtual component, are you providing technology for the students, like a laptop, internet connection, all that?
Yes, we provide the laptop. In most cases, the students do have internet connection, but if that's a problem, we figure out a way to work through that also.
We try to partner with as many local community organizations in order to better serve barriers that are out there that maybe we're not able to do with our funding. The list goes on through many local providers out there that address barriers in different directions.
So in these 9 weeks, because I know you have a long list of trades. So within these 9 weeks, what do they complete?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
What they complete is, she had a slide that she put out there where it has her OSHA certification, it has certification for silica, asbestos abatement, and the NATP, which is a national trade certification recognized by the construction trades here in the state of Michigan as a Department of Labor recognized certification. We also have actually been recognized by many of the trades operating engineers, the sheet metal trades, the construction laborers on us to give preference to come in. So this isn't an automatic. We, as Joanne says, we open the door. We teach them how to walk in, give them the tools to walk in. And then from that point, they walk in, and what happens is they're there with open arms because they went through our program. I think she's bringing up that.
Yeah, hold on for a second. I lost it for a minute there. Okay, here we go. So these,
Most of the classes is math.
yeah, these are the different trades that we are involved in. And the beauty of the program is that, I keep losing it for some reason. The beauty of the program is that the trades sponsor a lot of the, they've come up with the curriculum piece. They help us in developing that curriculum piece, what's important to them. And we always make sure that we provide a lot of networking opportunities with the different trades. We also provide exposure to the participant. We have something that's called a contractors meeting. And at that meeting, a lot of the employers will come to the meeting, and sometimes it's actually an interview where the students are hired. Also give them the opportunity to make sure they interact with the different trades. We do that sometimes through our work experience that they do at the end of the program, where the participants actually do volunteer work in the community that they live. And that's had quite an impact also. I'll see if I can blow this up. I don't know if you can see it. Nope, I keep losing it for some reason. I don't know. Yeah. So anyone have any other questions in reference to the program? I know we had a short time.
I just have one more. So after the 9 weeks, then you help place them in specific apprenticeships then, correct?
Okay,
True.
So-
Joanne.
go ahead, Sam.
Done this for many more years than I have. So, well, basically, after they graduate, then we're working with the actual business managers and agents and contractors from the construction trades through the whole class, and they're involved from the beginning, including the interviews to get into the class. So many of them are courted, so to speak, as they go through the class and find a way, and they typically know which direction they want to go fairly soon into the class as they get introduced to the different trades. So they have different application times for different trades, and so we help them manage through that. Of course, there's financial awareness and everything through the class to help manage, through the seasonal stuff that goes on. But in the end of the game, we walk them right to the person that's going to give them an opportunity. With my last Battle Creek cohort, every student was offered an apprenticeship, at least with the construction laborers at the end of that class.
The beauty also is that Sam mentions the construction laborers. The curriculum allows for them to carry at least 80 credit hours towards their apprenticeship program once they leave us, which is a nice opportunity for them if they decide to go into the laborers.
We're recruiting right now. And there's a QR code there, and there's a website link. Ignore the November thing on there. But everything else is pretty accurate on there. We'll get, if we get an email list, maybe Joanne, we can email out materials to everybody if they're interested to share that. Or,
Yes.
And is there any cost to the student?
No cost to the students. This is totally funded through grants that we've been working with, and also partnering with other institutions in the community, depending on where we're at. Yeah, it helps to partner with other organizations to address barriers that sometimes we can't help with.
And Sam, also the key to all of this is partnerships. And we would really like to, develop that partnership with the Albion community.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank you.
that. And thank you, Mayor, and City Manager, council members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next we have our public hearing and our proposed 5-year, oh, no, I'm sorry, yes.
I'd like to just introduce our new assistant city manager, everyone. I'm just moderator, if you don't mind stepping up and sharing a little bit about yourself.
Today is my first day here at the city of Albion, and it's been a wonderful day. I've met a lot of great people. I come to you with over 25 years of municipal experience. I have worked in county government and I have worked in city government. I've been on city council and I've been a mayor. So I kind of cover everything out there. I'm here to help every department and our city manager and to help council reach the goals and objectives that they set for the city of Albion. So thank you. Glad to be here.
Welcome.
Yeah,
Happy to have you.
yeah.
Our public hearing is on our 5-year community recreation plan. So, are we gonna kind of walk us through this, or was there somebody else gonna? Oh, okay. We have any? Open the public meeting at 7:20 p.m. Do we have anybody in the gallery that would like to speak on our 5-year recreation plan? Do we have any questions or comments from council on this?
Same goes to the public hearing.
Councilwoman Reed?
Okay, as I was looking this over, I was wondering if there was any, I saw a lot of things that was being said, but is there any chance that there's going to be the availability or the financial ability to have someone, a person, work in the parks some days during the week, like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, something like that? Is that something that could be worked into that park plan? Because one, with COVID still going on and drinking fountains not being usable, you need some type of water or something there for people who would be in the park, especially if you're gonna have kids there. For another thing, as much as these problems we've been having with things being torn up, taken away, there needs to be some type of supervision. And so I was just wondering if along with the recreation plan, that there was going to be something added in to be helpful in that area.
So this plan is, highlights our projects. It's kind of a working document that highlights upcoming projects in our park spaces. We do have a parks department. There are 2 members or 2 group members within that department who are in our parks every single day. They rotate amongst all of the parks. As you all know, that we have an abundance of park spaces here in the city of Albion. And so we do have a crew, a parks crew, and they are actively in our park spaces throughout the week.
Okay. That's extra people other than the 2 park workers.
No, that is our 2 park workers. That is our parks department. And that would not be included in this type of plan. This is a master plan that highlights any upcoming projects that are tied to our park spaces. That is more so operations, I think you're looking for, which would be addressed by our director of public services.
Okay. Then that, I think, should be added, that it needs to be discussed.
Any other comments? And we'll move to adjourn our Open public hearing at 7:23 p.m. Public comments. Do I have anybody in the gallery that would like to stand and address council in regards to any of our agenda items?
I want to make sure I'm in the right spot. This is the public comment section, not just about the last item, right? So I'm Jim Stewart, 205 West Oak in Albion, and happy New Year, everybody. We appreciate what you guys do, and thanks for the presentation on the workforce stuff. That's exciting with Stacy and I. And I don't know what the parks thing is, but I'm glad we're moving forward and have a plan. I wanted to share something. I'll try to be quick. So my job historically I'm a business analyst and a project manager. And I work for whatever company or organization, school I'm working for. And when something comes up that somebody thinks needs to be done, I come in, or a team comes in, and we look at what is the problem that's trying to be solved. And we look at the root cause of the problem. We understand the root cause of the problem. And then we talk about the requirements of what we need to do to solve that problem. What's our goal? What's our mission, our objective? We have a charter for a given project, and this is what we're going to solve, and it helps us to keep on track. And then we go through the whole project with that in mind. And if we find out that like a software application doesn't meet our needs, we don't use it. Or if it has too much cost or too much expense or too many bad side effects, we don't do it. We find something that makes it happen. I say all that stuff to say, I'm frustrated that we're again talking about rental certification as if we are moving to implement that right now. Because for many years and many times it's come up, people who know business and know how things work have said, this is not a good idea, you're missing the point. And I would like to say that I'm not against rental certification per se. I'm against rental certification to use it to solve the problem that's been stated we're trying to solve, because I think you won't solve it. I think what we're going to do is we're going to have a whole lot of side effects that we're sorry about. And so rather than saying we're moving forward with rental certification, I'd appreciate it if we would say we're going to try to really look at this in a way so we can understand what the successes might be and what the side effects might be. Because I'm happy to help. If there's something I can do to help, but I don't think we should proceed as if we are doing it. I think it's a bad idea. And I have a lot of good reasons why, and there's a lot of real data out there that can support that. So that's all I had to say. So thank you.
Elaine Gott, 307 South Elm Street. I just want to add to what Jim was talking about with rental certification. It is a bad idea. We are not hearing any transparent things coming back to us as to why this is being pushed forward. What are the goals and what are we trying to do with this? So if you've got Albion that hasn't had rental certification, so there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be brought up, which is going to be a really high expense. So the company that you had here last time for the rental certification, they said there was 40-something% of the housing was rental. If I heard that right, I don't remember. So that being said, I own 2 houses, which is a total of 7 units. So that's only 2 houses, and that affects 7 families. So what is the dynamics of that 40-something%? How much of the community are you affecting? And the 2 houses that I have are multi-units. And every time somebody moves out, we try to restructure and update. But it's a lot going on in this community, and I don't think you guys understand that something needs to be in place so we can take this in chunks. If you just go ahead and pass it, and I've got a due date to get all these things certified. If I can't do it, well, what am I going to do? Am I just going to default? And are you going to have more properties that sit and rot? You know, we don't need any more of that. We need to build this community, not knock it down. And I think by rental certification right now at this time, we're cutting our throat. That's all I have to say.
Anybody else on the gallery? Anybody else?
Sure.
Good evening, council. Garrett Brown, 1016 South Superior Street. So I just, the rental certification thing, when I looked at the agenda, I don't think it looks like the council's being asked to approve anything. I think they're being asked to set up a committee. Now, I don't know. I looked at the agenda, and I don't know if I saw an attachment with a resolution for that, but I would assume, I don't know if that would just be a council committee, or if it would actually be members from the community. But I think there needs to be at least some kind of organized group that will kind of examine what the possibilities could be. Because I think, like I've said in previous conversations, like, restaurants have health inspections. And so they're offering a service to the public. So in the case of accommodations, I think that we should make sure that there's a kind of a standard of safety, obviously with a home or residence that's actually occupied by the owner, code enforcement can do certain things. But I think if there are other issues going on, I'm not really sure if code enforcement can go into someone's house. And so I think that's kind of what the ordinance would be there for. For my understanding, is to allow kind of periodic reviews for safety for the renters. And I think the city, if memory serves me correctly from previous discussions about this, I think the city has, a pretty broad authority to kind of shape it to meet the needs of Albion, right? Which is a high renter base, low income, right? So I guess I'll stop by saying, I think at one point the discussion was maybe to do it every maybe 3 years, right? So it doesn't have to be every year. So I don't see anything wrong with at least exploring the topic, as long as there are a good number of representative voices in the process to do the committee's work. So thank you.
Anybody else? Do I have to be by the microphone? No, go ahead. My name is Stacy Stewart, and I live at 205 West Oak Street. And I would like to clarify specifically the comment that Garrett Brown just made in saying that the current code does not allow for the inspections to be brought forth as they currently exist. We had a tenant. The tenant called Safe Built. They actually called John Tracy first. John Tracy promptly directed them to Safe Built. Safe Built had a notice on our door in 2 days. That was 5 years ago. So Safe Built came into our property, didn't call us, came right into the property, found the issues that they felt needed to be corrected, and we had a notice by the tenant. So, only apart from the individual not being willing to have somebody come and inspect their property, would that be corrected? And I'm not positive, I didn't double check the law, but if we have a certification and the tenant then turns away Safe Built, do they have a right to, push their way in? I don't know any of that, but what I'm saying is the current codes as they exist will allow for correction of anything within the house, with anything in our rental house. They would come in and give us a notice. And if that notice is not corrected, our property will be condemned. And that I am 100% certain of, because we went through that process. Thank you. Anybody else in the gallery? Okay. We'll go into our consent calendar items. We have a motion to approve.
So moved. Support.
Right, in your package, you have the minutes for our December 15th study session and December 20th regular session. Any comments? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Reed.
Yeah.
Jackson,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the first reading of our ordinance to amend chapter 58, article 2, to amend section 58-33?
Support.
And Colin, do you want to walk us through this?
Sure, so this is just an amendment to the city's trespass ordinance. There's two changes. One, several years ago, the state made a modification that the state penalty of which our ordinance is based on. And so this is just to bring us into compliance. The general penalty set for misdemeanor ordinances in the city is 90 days in jail and up to $500 in fines plus court costs. The state law for trespassing is 30 days and $250 plus court costs. So we obviously can't exceed that. So we're making this amendment to bring us into compliance. The other change that I've made, realistically, I mean, we use our trespass ordinance a fair amount. The way that the previous ordinance was drafted was, I would say, overly verbose. So what I've done is I've essentially taken the exact language from the state statute and we've adopted it through our ordinance. So it's cleaner, it's shorter, it's more succinct. I think we'll be more effective with enforcement with this language moving forward. So happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for our attorney? No? All right, City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve the City Hall backdoor replacement.
Support.
We have Director Miller here.
Director Miller, who's unable to attend tonight. So I will present this to you. Council, if you can recall, you approved to replace the back entrance ramp to City Hall on June 7th of 2021. So now that the ramp has been replaced, we need to replace the back door to make sure that it is ADA compliant as well. Also, there's just a number of issues that we've experienced with the back door. We've had issues with our keypad lock, and there's not a window. So sometimes when you're coming through from inside City Hall, could be a person walking up and you don't see. We have instances where doors have swung open and hit residents. We're just making sure that we are ADA compliant and get that back door replaced. Director Miller, he did solicit 3 different estimates for the replacement of that. We are making the recommendation to go with Jackson Glass for a total amount of $12,251,133. Just recommending approval.
Do you have any questions for the managers here? City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williamson.
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve a discussion for our rental certification committee.
Support.
And so Councilman Williamson, do you want to make this discussion?
Sure. So I thought after our last discussion, Safe Built Payment did a presentation about the type of work they do with municipalities around rental certification in other parts of the country, other parts of the state. I sat on a committee where we focused on code enforcement and try to understand what code enforcement is doing, because a lot of the pushback on rental certification for the last couple of years has been just enforce what's on the books, just enforce the code. This is more than just a code issue. This is decades of folks owning properties. And we are finding out that it is coming up to be almost half of the properties in town. And we have great landlords and we have average landlords and we have the not so great landlords. And unfortunately, there's probably a few that are ruining it for the many. And so one of the things we needed to do, what we need to do is create a committee that wants to talk about rental certification again, look at what was proposed. I think most of council over the last couple of years agreed that what was proposed was not perfect and it wasn't workable. It was really stringent. It had some hard deadlines right up front that did put some burden on the property owner. but that there was still a need, that if we're going to clean up and get properties that are better quality and habitable for residents here in the community, that there needs to be some sort of process to make sure that when people say, I want to rent an Albion, that they know they're going to get a property that is quality and safe for them to live in. So I wanted to put together a council committee that could then engage with the landlords association, talk to the landlords that are interested, especially some of them here tonight. And then also hopefully engage with some residents who are renters, although understanding the complexities of the relationship between someone who rents from someone and someone who owns that property is very interesting. And start to revive that discussion so that we can bring in a policy forward. It is a desire of the city. It has been a desire of the city now for a few years to have this policy, a policy of some sort put in place. And I think it's time that we move that forward. And hoping that landlords and property owners will be partners in this process moving forward. It already feels as though we're moving into an antagonistic situation, which is what always happens when change happens in the city. But I think if we put together a good group of 3 from council, I would recommend Councilmember Lanu, who actually sent a letter to us all saying that she would like to be part of that committee. That we put together a good group of 3 folks who are ready to start having those conversations on a regular basis over the next few months to hopefully bring forward a policy that makes sense and may not be loved by all, but is palatable by many. And that is really what I know that we've been struggling to do this for several years. Councilmember Reed led the fight on this before I got on council, and that's when they built this policy. I'll be imperfect. It's still somewhere to start, and so I think it's time to move that forward.
So I was going to ask, are you looking at including, like you were saying, property owners along with renters on this committee?
So the council, without resolution, we can do the council members committee, but then they can move forward with, oh, do we need to bring in, like, who do I bring in and name more people to the committee? I wanted this to be kind of an ad hoc committee because so much of the information we need to gather, there are barriers to serving on committee roles in the city formally. And so in order to gather information from those who may not qualify, but are deeply affected by the changes we make, I want to make sure that if it's a council committee, that then they can open the door and make sure those folks are included without having to have the formality of applying and being named. Does that make sense? Okay. And I know that is a concern of Councilmember Lanu. I know it's been a concern of many folks here. So many, and you've seen it, Mayor, where so many people apply, they want to participate, but there are barriers to participating. But they are sometimes the most affected by the decisions made at this desk. So I want to make sure that we're as open as possible.
If I can, I'm totally open to Councilmember Williamson's suggestion. I would like Director Arnold to come forward and just share input or any feedback that he would like to provide on this topic as such, since the subcommittee will more than likely be working alongside myself as well as Director Arnold.
So Director Arnold, before you go, I know Councilwoman Reed, did you have a comment that you wanted to?
I'd like to be on that committee, but I was not the leader of that one before, of course, Mrs. Spicer.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure we're starting from the same clear point, and I'll take this opportunity to take credit or blame, however you want to look at it, for bringing this up again. Director Arnold, Planning and Building, 517-629-7189. I'm pretty new to this city, and I've already seen in my 11 and a half months here already a lot of problems with a lot of properties in town. A particular group of that I've received a lot of complaints directly regarding our rental units, and I've received a lot of those complaints from tenants who feel pretty powerless, and they're asking us, me, you, for help that we are not presently able to provide. I want to provide further context that as of right now, no ordinance has been written for this. We're not, I'm not trying to push something through without feedback. If you've worked with me on the planning commission so far, I went ahead and wrote the mobile food vending ordinance that we were working on. I went ahead and waited on writing anything for this. I've got some drafts from other communities, Three Rivers in particular, and I have their ordinance on rental certification through Safe Build, who we use and have used in different forms over the years to fulfill the function of our building department. I leaned on them for that resource. So if it feels like it's coming with a little bit of their spin, it is, I asked them for that. And I wanted to have that presentation at the last council meeting to refresh, restart. I definitely don't want to move forward in a way that goes to every landlord in town and extorts them for, you know, all the profit they'd get from their business leasing houses. But I've got some pretty real and pretty startling complaints from residents that I want to address. So however I can be useful to this committee in answering questions and providing information to protect tenants and landlords, that is my only interest.
But before you got here, before the pandemic, there was an actual written draft ordinance. You didn't draft it. City Manager Snyder didn't draft it. I think Colin might have been part of that process with the previous committee that worked on it. So if you don't have that, you should probably take a look at it, because that is what a lot of people are looking at when we talk about rental certification. That's what they know from that process, and it may not be all what we move forward with. So I think you should really take a look at that.
Appreciate it. So I'm more than happy to take any council questions, any questions from residents. I know these meetings aren't the format for that, but there is a lot of value in just reading through the ordinance that Three Rivers has on rental certification. Reading through points of that ordinance and being like, wow, that would have helped this person that called me, that would have helped this person that called me. If I can just share, a resident called me, he's been trying to get his landlord to replace the fridge in his unit for something like 10 months now. He told me he keeps spending his food stamps when they tell him it's fixed, and then his food spoils. So those are the kind of, that's what I'm hearing, and that's why I'm asking us to look into this. I'm happy to hear all of the other concerns so that we can move forward in a good direction for the residents.
Any other questions or
I have a
comments?
question.
Yes.
Have we looked at any funding to help or assist landlords?
Not to help or assist landlords on the financial piece of this, and I think what Councilmember Williamson said harkens to this. People have the perception of this rental certification idea based on the last ordinance draft, which I'm assuming came with some estimates on numbers. I mean, the way landlords would have to respond to recoup that loss is by raising it. And that's a reality that can really, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. The personal relationship the landlord and tenant have, the federal mandates at the time. So it does put landlords in a difficult financial position. And it does put tenants in a difficult position if their rent goes up. But what I'm seeing a lot of is houses that are not fit to be rented out. I've seen a lot of the, we'll say, great landlords rental units in town, and I really do believe that there are a lot of property owners in this town doing right by our residents. There are some that I can show you the evidence that they're not. It's never personal with me, and I don't think any of those are in this room. So it is a financial concern. Having the money in my budget or in public safety's budget for code enforcement, or for paying for this rental certification and the inspections that go along with that, and the administration of, then we have a registry of rental units and landlords. I mean, that has a cost, and in this, in the rental certification system at large, that cost is generally first put onto the landlord and then realized as a rent increase to the residents.
I understand that, but with that being said, I would imagine the majority of these landlords rent to low-income tenants. That's partially the reason for the concern. And in that, I would imagine we'd be able to have some leeway to look for funding for subsidized housing, or I don't know the specific term, but a way to assist improvements in these houses or in these homes so that, people do have you have something to say, Shane?
Yeah, I was gonna add, if I'm allowed, sorry, but that, so there's a difference, so there's a couple of nuances, which is why it's important that we have a committee together to talk about this. So there's low income renters, and then there is federally subsidized rentals.
Right.
Okay, federally subsidized rentals have to follow federal standards, okay? And currently, the folks who rent to low income individuals that either don't qualify or not under the federal subsidies, generally don't have to follow the subsidy program. So that's why you'll notice that certain housing in Albion where government money is subsidizing the rent of individuals in those homes will have wonderful, well-kept, redone, revamped spaces. And while some properties that are not under those programs, but are still geared towards low income or lower income individuals, may not be kept up, may not be as safe, may have holes, may have plumbing issues, may have electrical issues. Director, you're kind of really underplaying some of what you're being very kind. But from several committees and code enforcement and from the last round of this, there are issues with property in this town. And while it shouldn't always be, you know, a first fee to the landlord, and maybe there needs to be some time, but that's why we need to have a committee to discuss all of these nuances. And there are programs to help homeowners. There are programs, federal programs. I'm sure there'll be something. COVID's been handing out money to everybody left and right. I can't imagine that landlords will be left out, but if they are, let's figure that out. But that's why it's important that we have the committee, because I take issue that in Albion, that you get what you pay for is, well, if I can only afford $350 or $400 a month, that I still don't get to have running water and good electrical. I understand that not everybody deserves to drive the Cadillac. I don't drive a Cadillac. But at some point, our neighbor deserves to live in a safe space, no matter what their income is or income level is. And if they need to move to Section 8 or other federally subsidized programs, then maybe that's the problem. Maybe the landlord needs help finding resources, but there's a committee that needs to address whether we're going to enforce rules on everyone around, especially rental properties.
Thank you, Councilman Williamson. And I would also like to add my name to the list of council members who would like to serve on that list.
Sounds good. Yeah. So definitely, I know that this is a good step moving forward, because we do want to take everybody's concerns in with before we set any type of ordinance or move forward with anything. We definitely want to listen, like Councilman Williams said, the owners, the renters, you know, and get that input.
To Councilmember Williams' point, and I'm sorry if I got off track from answering your initial question. We've not looked at anything to help with the fees that would be adopted under a rental certification ordinance yet. Mostly from the perspective of, I don't want to be talking about fees yet. I want to be talking about the function of the ordinance with renters and tenants. One thing in particular that I'm trying to do in my limited capacity somewhat is connect all property owners with county, state, and federal resources to get funding for the things that we tell them they need fixed, right? There are standards that I believe we need to follow. Our inspectors will say it, I will say it. I would not build my house just to the standards. I think they're a bare minimum that the state sets. That's just my opinion on that. But the USDA provides a lot through their rural development branch. I've got no shame in saying that's how I bought my house. They provide federally backed mortgages as well as grant or loan programs that if you can spend the time to jump through some hoops and call some people, you can get $8 grand for a roof repair. You can get 500 for some new front steps. So I'm interested in helping people the whole way around here, not just the phrase compliance, not enforcement, is going into my head. I want to see the standard of living in Albion rise. In a perfect world, we could just make that happen, but it's going to cost something along the way. So I want to help with that.
The other thing that the last ordinance got not right was that it didn't incentivize the landlord to do better or to be compliant. So the last one was literally an inspection every year, every year you get an inspection no matter what, right? So every year they had to pay for the inspection and then fix things and then pay any fines on top of that every single year. Whereas in other municipalities and other places, they build in incentives. Okay, if you pass your inspection on the first time through, you might not have to do it again for 3 to 5 years, which again saves the landlord time and money. And then of course, for other landlords where they're not taking care of their property or providing a safe place, that keeps on top of them to finally do that. So I think there's multiple things that can happen, and this committee could put together a pretty comprehensive strategy with landlords, with renters, with the city to make it both incentive-based and hope for general voluntary compliance. But I think there should be some incentives in there for people who are doing really well.
Thank you, everybody, for your input. Thank you.
Next is our discussion for adding a study session prior to each council meeting.
I don't think, there was a discussion approval, so I think it needs to be.
We need to approve 3 people to be on our committee.
Oh. So did you want to select the committee tonight?
Well, it's three council members. If there are 3 willing, I believe Councilmember Reed, Councilmember Williams, and Councilmember Lanu have all indicated if they would like to do that, that would be fantastic.
That sound,
And then we would need to vote on it.
yeah. So, any other comments before moving forward with the vote? Councilman Reed, did you have a comment?
No.
The only comment I have is I still have to work this out on my schedule, so.
Okay.
Perfect.
Any kind of coming up?
Councilmember Williamson.
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
and Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Motion to approve adding a study session prior to each council meeting.
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem Jackson.
Yes, I guess the best example we want to just have, we say, partners, is that, we would like to, I would like for us to be able to come a half an hour early so that we can talk about, items that come on the agenda that we might not understand, might need to ask some questions before approving them. And I think that would help our meetings go a little faster. Just like this right here, that's a good example, because some of the questions could change a lot of information that could have been given out. And that could have been given out before even Ian came up, and then also was able to answer some of the questions that some of our public had at the same time. And we could just move through a little faster.
Councilman Reed.
I would not like to have it a half hour before the council meeting. I would like to have it on a different Monday. But because, I tell you why, because when we get our packet, it's like Thursday, late Thursday. Okay, you're coming up on a weekend. A lot of things go on over a weekend. That's when you have time to do extra things that you don't have time to do through the week. Okay, so that takes up your time, and then you don't, and I try not to call color on a weekend, because he deserves some free time with his wife, just like everybody else deserves to have time with their families. And so if there's something that I can get, information I can get through him during the week, I try to, but Saturday and Sunday, I do not want to bother him. So therefore, that cuts down on the time that I have. And then when I get the packet and I don't have time to really study it and find out what it is I need to know or research things, and I like to research things that I need, and a half an hour, that's, I get it that Thursday evening, I'm not going to do anything with it. That Friday, I'm getting things ready to do other things, but Saturday, I'm trying to get stuff that I got to really get done. Then Sunday, I'm going to church. That's just not enough time to do it. That's my thought.
So what I would just offer to council, and I've mentioned this at previous meetings, scheduling aside, I would just say that the communities that I work with that have the study sessions before the meeting find their regular meeting to flow much better, because as Mayor Pro Tem Jackson had mentioned, it allows you to address those issues ahead of time so that you're not getting into the nitty gritty during the meeting portion, which largely should be, just a brief discussion and a vote. Now I will say, some communities have significantly longer study sessions. I'm not saying you need to do that. By way of example, the city of Eaton Rapids has a 2-hour work session before every meeting. They start at 5, do their work session, and then the regular meeting starts at 7. And the regular meeting is amazingly short usually, because they've done everything in the work session. But I think regardless of when you schedule it, any time that you devote to a study session to go over things before the regular session will ultimately help you shorten the length of your regular session, because as Mayor Pro Tem Jackson pointed out, you can kind of hash out the discussion and get the information before you actually vote on the issue.
Yes.
One thing I just would like to add, if we are going to start doing this, which I'm not against, but I still encourage council to ask questions prior to the study session. That way, myself or other department heads have time to prepare and gather either data or other information. So when we do come and have the study session, we're all ready to go and have an open discussion. So I still encourage you to contact us when you get your packets or when you have time, you've looked over everything, ask us those questions prior to a study session or open meeting so that we can come prepared to better assist you in making decisions.
Councilman Williamson?
I'm supportive of this motion. We can start with 30 minutes before the meeting, and then if we find out, especially as things, as bigger issues rise, that we need an hour and a half. I think this is a good idea I think it's one of the better ideas that a consultant has given us over the last couple of years to really understand each other and the policy, and to work with the city administrators more meaningfully before a meeting. That way we come to the meeting, and not that there's a lot of friction, but there's a lot of understanding. Like we get the clarifying statements out of the way, we get to understand who wants to be on what committee, and you do that still in the confines of the Open Meetings Act, but also then also give the public the opportunity during the public portion of the meeting to have their input, and if things change, they do. But really the study session allows us to ask those hard questions, like the question on rental certification tonight. I mean, there's a bucket of information out there that we need to go through for those to really have understanding where that conversation's at. We could have said, here's A, B, C, D, F, G. This is why we need to have a committee, and then we could have decided, people could decide, well, I don't really want to do that, or I do. So I really like this. I think this will encourage a little more teamwork amongst the 7 of us up here, and along with the city admin. I think 30 minutes is a great start, and if we need to modify it, we can do it later.
Councilman Williamson, do you have anything to add?
No, I haven't.
City Clerk Domingo?
Councilmember Williamson?
Yes.
Can I ask a question before we start? So we're still talking about a half an hour before the regular meeting?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Reed? No. Jackson?
Yeah.
And Mayor Snyder?
Yes. Future agenda items. Do we have any future agenda items that we would like to bring to the table?
I just wanted to mention this in my manager's report, but just remind council, please, I will resend the data polls for the 2 study sessions that we are looking to schedule in January. A few have responded to one, but not the other, and then the other, but not the one with MML clip. So I will resend the link. Please select more, any and all dates that you are available so that we can make contact with other parties who will be attending those study sessions. So just be on the lookout for that.
Oh, sorry. At this time, anybody in the gallery can stand and speak to council.
Jim Stewart, 205 West Oak, Albion. Just thank you for listening. I forgot the other thing I was going to say, but looking forward to finding out more about what we think on the rental certification. There are plenty of nuances. Oh, I wanted to say this. Stacy and I have a heart for the people that are struggling. We're not we want to solve the same thing, so if we come across, if Stacy and I come across combative, I'm sorry, that's not what we intend. We feel like we want to come alongside and get this thing solved. My concern is that this isn't the right first step, that's all. So we're right alongside and want to help.
Good evening, Mayor Snyder and other council people here. My name is Jim Hotzma. I'm the representative for the 62nd District. I look forward to meeting you, Councilperson Williams, specifically, as I know the others. I just wanted to give you a quick update. If you hadn't learned, last week, Tuesday, it's been kind of a cloud over all the legislators for the past year plus in relation to redistricting. But last Tuesday afternoon, the Independent Redistricting Commission did announce the new districts. The present 62nd district, which includes Albion, is almost exactly the same by the declaration from the Independent Redistricting Commission. It does exclude Albion Township, but otherwise, except for that change, it's identical, except it'll be monikered District 44 in the 2022 election in relation to 2023 for the state Senate. District is not significantly different other than a differently monikered number and some different districts, rural districts to the west, including some precincts in Allegan County. So I think from my perspective of Albion's community of interest, connectedness to Battle Creek, I think there will still be a robust representation in relation to a Battle Creek Albion nexus in the legislature for the next 10 years, accepting any changes that might follow from any lawsuits that are certain to come in early 2022. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Gilbert. I'm county prosecutor. I try to come down to your meetings at least once a year, but because of COVID, you haven't seen me in 2 years, almost 2 years. I just want to let you know I'm here. If you've got questions, you know you can call me. If I don't answer the phone right away, I do return phone calls, and I also respond to emails. So if you have any questions regarding the prosecutor's office, anything going on in our county, feel free to give me a call. Thank you.
Anybody else in the gallery?
Yes, Stacy Marinac, 205 West Oak Street. Appreciate you guys coming into the conversation in regard to rental certification. I think a lot of the information around rental certification is confusing, and I don't think a lot of people know what they're getting into when they are bringing rental certification. Specifically, one of the things I think you're really going to see a deterioration of investors in the community when they see rental certification as part of the Albion city. In fact, I would specifically avoid an area that had rental certification due to horror stories from other communities. But no offense, but in an instance like rental certification, it would not correct a broken refrigerator. And that's kind of an information that with a little bit of digging, you could find out that it might be the plug, but if it's not the plug, the refrigerator is under contract with the landlord and the tenant, but that's separate from any type of code violation. So when you say you're going to go into an entire community and you're going to require some type of rental certification, and then also any cost associated with improvements, whatever those improvements are, wherever you want to put the bar, you have to say, okay, so that bar costs a certain amount of money. Maybe it's $400,000 a year for this rental certification, and then Safe Built gets involved, and then you have to meet them out there, and then you have to improve. So let's say you're talking a couple $1 million worth of investment in the community. That $200 million is going to be absorbed somewhere. Now, I think everybody thinks that landlords are just going to absorb it because they want to own property. And if they want to own property, they're going to fix it up so that somebody can rent it. But that means that the tenant ultimately pays the cost of wherever that bar is. You can say, I want every house in Albion painted perfect. And, you know, and sure, you can say the exposed wood outside a house is part of code. but it's gonna cost some money. Most of the houses cost $10,000 to $15,000 to paint. So some of those things are things to think about. I mean, it's where do you want to put the bar? And if that bar moves too much, it freaks people out, because this is a business. You're investing in a business. How much does that business cost? If I'm gonna move that cost to that business next week, next year, and I'm gonna change it, it really de-incentivizes individuals. And so I think that that's something that, as you look at a fixed refrigerator, it's just understanding how these codes affect the cost of doing business is really, really important. So it's gonna be absorbed somewhere. And is it the tenant? It probably both the tenant and the landlord, but you just have to be careful with how you affect that. That's my, thank you.
Do we have anybody else?
Albion showers.
Hello. Evergreen Showers, 805 Valhalla Drive. Who is going to appoint people to be on this here committee that y'all forming for the rentals certification? And how will you go about it? I got questions. So I'd like to know who I can go to for these questions, because I only have 3 minutes on this here talk right here, but I want to sit down and be able to understand the ones who you're choosing. Do they have houses? Do they rent houses? I mean, do they have compassion for the owners, or do they just have compassion for the renters? Because I tell you, we got some renters that tear up stuff in a minute, but I want to be able to voice my opinion and be able to speak my what's going on and what can happen and what cannot happen. So I want to know who you're choosing and how you're choosing them to be on that committee, because I definitely would like to be on there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Lanu, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. I just wanted to say hello and thank everyone who has come to share their feedback, specifically about the rental certification. I look forward to being able to see how we can create a resolution. So for Elder Showers, as your representative, I'm happy to speak with you further, and just look forward to continue to listening to both the landlords, the residents, and other communities from the different perspectives on this issue. And I just wanted to wish everyone a happy new year. Thank you.
Travels.
Thank you.
And Gary Tompkins.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Madam Mayor, certainly council members, Gary Tompkins, your County Commissioner. I'm sorry I'm not with you this evening. I'm home. My family's a little under the weather, so I just wanted to make sure that I'm being safe. I just wanted to take just 2 seconds to wish, hopefully, that each one of you had a great holiday season, a happy new year, and looking forward to a great 2022 working with each one of you on the city council. So great days ahead for the city of Albion, and I'm glad to be involved in it. So just looking for a great 2022. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Tompkins. Stay safe. Anybody else? All right. Anybody else in the gallery that would like to stand and speak? City manager's report.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. I have a private copy of my report at your desk. I will send this out via email so you have record of that. Just a few things to update you on. The Enemy Winter Institute. I will be attending the Michigan Municipal Executives Winter Institute in Detroit, Michigan from January 25th to 28th. Just want to remind everyone, City Hall's operations, we have limited public hours. They are Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're encouraging our residents to continue to utilize the drop box out front. City staff, however, we are available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. via email and phone. Virtual meetings as of December 31st, 2021. The only exception for an elected official or board member to join a meeting virtually under the Open Meetings Act is due to military service. The other exceptions that were put in place by the legislation, they have expired at this time and they have not been extended. So beginning January 17th, we will return back to how we previously held meetings where public will be able to come and join in person, provide public comment, or they can watch via the live stream via YouTube. If there's any issues with that, I ask council to please reach out to me prior to our January 17th meeting. I did say, reminder, I will rescind the due to poll, so I really encourage all of you to take that so you can get those study sessions scheduled. And I do just want to announce to all the council and then the community, we will be scheduling a town hall to discuss the USDA equity program that City of Albion does qualify. So we will have members from the USDA RD come out, provide more information on those different programs that are available to not only City of Albion as a local unit of government, but our residents as well, that they can apply and take advantage of some of these programs to make some of the necessary improvements to their homes. So please stay tuned for more information on that. And that is all I have.
Any questions for City Manager Sweet? All right, council member comments.
I just want to congratulate Commissioner Hopkins on giving what I know will be the shortest remarks of the entire year 2022. So thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. And really excited. I also wanted to share that the equipment for the splash pad has been purchased officially. Over $790,000 worth of equipment is on its way. And will be arriving by springtime. So very excited for that. So good things ahead in 2022.
Any other council member comments? We did receive messages from both Councilwoman Lemieux and Councilwoman Waller that they were unable to be here this evening, so do I have a motion to excuse both of them?
So support.
Councilmember Reed. Jackson.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. And motion to adjourn.
So
Support. Okay.
Councilmember Williams.
yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
And Mayor Snyder.
Yes. Meeting adjourned, 8:15 p.m.